What is up, everybody? Matt Moda here to give you some NFL player prop bangers for Thursday Night Football Week 4 between the Cowboys and the Giants. So we're talking Thursday Night Football, Cowboys versus Giants. Should be a pretty good game. Two NFC East teams that are both 1-2 heading into this week. Just as we all thought, Cowboys and Giants with the same record heading into their Thursday Night Football matchup. Obviously, it's early. It's just kind of funny, these wonky standings early in the year. So the way that we are playing Thursday Night Football, I'm going to have one play, mainline player prop that I'm putting the full unit on, one full unit banger. Then what I'm also doing is laddering that one player prop with 3 separate ladder plays as well. So playing one player very heavily, similar to what we did with Ja'Marr Chase on Monday night. For those who cashed that out with me, incredible night on Monday. And then I'm also going to have one honorable mention, one lean as well. As of right now, leaving it as a lean. If that changes and I want to track it officially, I'll let everybody know. But I really like what we have on the board for today. And we are coming off of an amazing, just incredible Monday Night Football. We got a ton of player props to cash. We're up almost 6 units, about 5.6 units just on Monday Night Football alone. We climbed the full ladder with Ja'Marr Chase, and he hit all of those metrics for us. And then we also had James Cook and his receiving prop, which he cashed literally on the first drive. Amazing Monday Night Football. That is exactly what we needed to happen. Week 3 overall was fine. Because of how amazing Monday was, we ended up in the profit with our player props, but didn't do so hot with our early bets, with our underdogs. And then if you look at the entire season, we're still up on our early bets, up a little bit less than a unit. It's been hit or miss there. Obviously, more good than bad. We'll take being in the green. With our underdogs, not a great underdog week last week, so we're down a little bit on the underdogs, but we're in the green on the player props. That's the most important thing. That's what I play the heaviest, is these player props. And again, it's been just wide swings of emotion with these player props. Week 1 was incredible. Week 2 and all of week 3, aside from Monday Night Football, terrible, not incredible. Then we had an amazing Monday Night Football. That's just how things go. So hopefully we can ride that success from Monday Night Football into Thursday Night Football, starting with the full ladder climb of CeeDee Lamb. We are taking that ladder all the way up to the top. We're taking him over 79.5 receiving yards as a full 1 unit banger. 1 unit on him. That's best offered at -107 odds at BetRivers. If you are like me and you can't bet at BetRivers, I got him at -110 odds at Bet365. And then we're also taking him a half unit on Lamb to get to 90 plus receiving yards. Again, best offered at BetRivers at +135. If you can't use BetRivers, I got it at +126 for a half unit at FanDuel. Then we're still climbing 100 plus receiving yards, +195 at BetRivers for a quarter unit, climbing all the way up to 110 plus receiving yards, plus 280 odds at BetRivers for a quarter unit. And for those last 2 props, they're best offered on DraftKings, again, if you can't use BetRivers like myself. So we are targeting CeeDee Lamb very similar to the way that we targeted Ja'Marr Chase on Monday night against the Commanders. That came through. He cashed every single play that we had on him. Now, the Giants defense is not quite as juicy as a matchup as the Commanders were. It's not quite the same level of just horrific defensive play, but a lot of the logic for backing Lamb tonight is the same for why we backed Chase on Monday night. CeeDee Lamb, legit, bona fide, #1 superstar wide receiver. Whatever adjective you want to give the best of the best, that has to include CeeDee Lamb. He's clearly unhappy with how the season has gone. You know, he has not had a lot of production to begin the year. He did score in, I believe that was week 2 when he scored a touchdown, but it wasn't like he's had a great game, great season to start. Last week, Dak Prescott threw for 371 yards. Only 67 of those yards went to CeeDee Lamb on 7 targets. Now, he had the second most targets with 7. He had the second most receptions on the Cowboys in that game. The problem was, and problem for Lamb wasn't necessarily, I mean, it was a problem because they got smoked up until the very end. The problem was Dak Prescott really spread the ball around in that game. That's not something that Dak Prescott did last year. 8 players on the Cowboys had 3 or more targets. That's an astonishing number. 5 players on the Cowboys had 5 or more targets. Last year, when CeeDee Lamb blew up, we could count on a massive target share for CeeDee Lamb. That has not been the case this year. Similar to why we liked Ja'Marr Chase heading into Monday night. It's just really hard to see that continuing. Now, at least the difference here, the Cowboys paid CeeDee Lamb. They gave him his money. Maybe it just took a little bit for him to get his feet wet. We've seen players that held out to start the year really struggle. Brandon Ayuk hasn't gotten it going. Ja'Marr Chase got going in week 3, was very, very slow in weeks 1 and 2. Same thing with CeeDee Lamb, but he's clearly unhappy. He's yelling at Dak Prescott on the sideline. Just a weird start. We all know the saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. It's a get-right game, all that stuff for CeeDee Lamb. And the guess here is that he's going to start getting the target share that he saw last year. Last year, CeeDee Lamb received 29.2% of all of the Cowboys' passing targets. That was the 4th highest target share in the NFL last year. Again, 29.2% target share. This year, that number is down to 18.4%. 50 players in the NFL have a higher target share than CeeDee Lamb does through 3 games. That's absurd. It's CeeDee freaking Lamb. He's one of the best receivers in the NFL, got paid among the best receivers in the NFL. It's really, really hard to foresee that continuing week over week. So that's why we think he's going to get peppered with targets. And also, looking into the matchup, there are metrics to suggest that this should be a plus matchup for CeeDee Lamb. A website that I've been looking at a lot, Fantasy Points, they look at like coverage grade. What type of coverage does the defense play versus what is the receiver at best at against these different types of coverages. So of all wide receivers or tight ends that have run at least 15 routes per game, so taking out the people that basically don't even play, this is the 3rd best coverage matchup for all week 4 tight ends and wide receivers. Again, looking at the type of coverage the defense plays, so in this case, the Giants, versus the type of coverage that CeeDee Lamb is best against, this is the 3rd best matchup in week 4 of all wide receivers and tight ends from a coverage matchup perspective. CeeDee Lamb has got a matchup coverage grade of 11.5. I know that means nothing to you. To put that into context, again, that's the 3rd best, and he's one of only 5 receivers that has a grade above 10%. So pretty good company for CeeDee Lamb. And last week, with the Browns, the worst quarterback play in the NFL, Deshaun Watson stinks. Amari Cooper went off 7 receptions, 86 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Doing that from Deshaun Watson is basically the equivalent of CeeDee Lamb going off for 150 yards, right? That's how bad Deshaun Watson has been. And Amari Cooper, classic wide receiver. He hadn't done anything the first 2 weeks of the year, blew up against the Giants. And the last point I'll make here about CeeDee Lamb is even if this game turns into a blowout, you're going to say the Cowboys are going to beat the piss out of the Giants. The Cowboys pass at the 7th highest frequency when they are winning by 7+ points. They pass at 56.7%, again, when they are leading by 7 or more points. And it was the same thing last year. They threw even when they had leads. Part of the reason is they can't run the ball, which helps with our passing plays. And then, in the off chance, let's say this gets out of hand for the Cowboys. They get off to a slow start. They're down early. They pass at the 5th highest frequency when trailing by 7+ points at a 73.9%. Almost 3/4 of the time when they're down by 7 or more, they throw the ball. So all this stuff adds up to a monstrous performance for CeeDee Lamb. This is, as of everything, how I am playing it. I might end up sending out more plays, like a first touchdown, a 2+ touchdowns, whatever it may be. But as of right now, we're just laddering up those yards all the way up to 110. That's our one and only official banger plus the 3 ladder plays. And then what we're also going to do, honorable mention / lean, we're taking Devin Singletary anytime touchdown plus 105 odds for bet 365. Now, before I get into this, I do just want to mention, if you're new to my channel, you could subscribe. I would appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button, like, and comment as well. I love reading through all the comments. So I admittedly went back and forth on whether I wanted to take Singletary to score to be an official play. Like, I knew I liked the matchup for him to score. I ended up just leaving it as a lean. I did some self-scouting over the past couple days because of how rough this season has been. And part of the issue that I've had with these primetime games is that I have too many plays dependent on the same game script, right? So if the game gets out of hand, like it did with the Bills and Dolphins in week 2, with the Jets and Patriots in week 3, the game gets out of hand, you lose your plays because it's just not how you expected things to go. So instead of doing that again, like let's say the Cowboys get up 28-0 early and then none of that goes to CeeDee Lamb, the Giants aren't running the ball and the Cowboys aren't passing the ball. I don't want to get double screwed. So what I'm doing is I'm leaving CeeDee Lamb, ladder, and all that stuff as our official bangers. And then I'm taking this as an honorable mention for people that want to have a play on both sides or are just looking to play more than just CeeDee Lamb. So if we're just looking at the matchup and nothing else, Singletary should have an awesome game against the Cowboys, right? I think his yards are also a good play, which I've also made the mistake of doubling down on yards and touchdowns and had that come to bite me. So that's another reason why I decided to play this safe. But if you really felt frisky, take him to score, take his rushing yards, ladder those up to 90 plus rushing yards. Because again, the matchup for him is phenomenal. The Cowboys' run defense, to put it lightly, has been an epic disaster. Horrible to start the year. They have the worst run defense according to DVOA and according to PFF, and by a huge margin as well. Like, they are so far in last, they're not even close to the second worst run defense on both of these metrics, DVOA and PFF. If you look at the first 3 weeks, so the entire season, they've allowed the 4th most rushing yards per game. Now, week 1, they played a Browns team that is pathetic on offense. They can't do anything. If you look at weeks 2 and 3, and you take out week 1, the Cowboys have allowed 169, that's very nice, 169 rushing yards per game, by far the most in the NFL. The next closest team is allowing 137 in weeks 2 and 3. Now, looking at the entire season, so still including week 1, Cowboys have allowed the most rushing touchdowns against them as well. They've allowed 6 rushing touchdowns through 3 games. Epic disaster, their run defense. And Devin Singletary has quietly been very good for the Giants the last 2 games. Week 1, rough performance against the Vikings. Weeks 2 and 3, Devin Singletary has been very good. He scored a touchdown in each of the last 2 weeks, and he's hit his rushing prop in each of the last 2 games as well. His rushing prop, 61.5. He had 95 yards against the Commanders in week 2, 65 yards last week against the Browns. Now, the Giants are pass heavier than you would think in a neutral game script, closer to the red zone. They've actually passed way more than you would expect from a team that has Daniel Jones as their quarterback. Now, when you have Malik Nabers, maybe you can be a little more pass heavy, but the good news is all of the red zone work, all of it goes to Devin Singletary. He has 7 of the 9 red zone carries for the Giants as a team, which is a super low number. Only 9 carries as a team is low. And he's got 7 of those 9, but he's got 100% of the carries from the 15 and in. So all the carries from inside the 15, inside the 10, and inside the 5, 100% have gone to Devin Singletary. So he should have a great game against the Cowboys. If this game stays close, he's probably going to score, and he's probably going to rush for 70 yards. I don't want to get double screwed. That's kind of, again, it's part of the self-scouting that I did, is to not play so heavily on one game script outcome. If it doesn't go your way, you're screwed. So that's, again, why I'm playing this a little bit safer, but everything about the matchup itself screams smash play for Devin Singletary. And that's all we got. 1 official banger, 3 official ladders, 1 official honorable mention for you guys to lock in for Thursday Night Football. The last thing that I will mention before we get out of here is that I do have a Dub Club where I send all my plays out for $5 a month. Again, $5 a month gets everything that I'm playing sent directly to your phone via text, email, or Telegram. So if you don't always check social media, if you're not always watching the YouTube videos, or you don't always have time, or you want to get in the plays before the odds change, which is the biggest benefit you get from the Dub Club, right? I send plays out to my Dub Club as soon as I decide what a play is. That's the first thing I do. Depending on when you watch the YouTube videos, the odds might change. So that's kind of why I push people towards a Dub Club. Again, only $5 a month. But if you're not interested in that, no problem. You can still get everything for free on YouTube and on Twitter at Jedi Modai. So follow me there if you're not. And now that's all we got. I appreciate everybody for watching, and have a good one.